what is actually being prohibited in the commandment that says you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion, and the Hebrew of this passage uses a verb that means to lift, bear, or carry. So it's literally saying not to lift, bear, or carry the name of the Lord your God in vain or for nothing. And this doesn't really make much sense all by itself. There is a psalm where the psalmist says they will not pour out the drink offerings of blood of other deities, nor will I lift, bear, or carry their names upon my lips. So it seems to have something to do with pronouncing the name in some kind of ritual or liturgical act. And most scholars would say the most likely candidate here is the swearing of an oath, because in swearing an oath, people do lift, bear, or carry one or both of their hands, and they usually invoke the name of a deity. And we see some of these oaths that say, by the life of Adonai, or something like that. And we have another commandment in Leviticus 19:12, which comes from an entirely different set of authors, that says, Lo tishavu bishmi l'shaker, which means you shall not swear by my name falsely or for a lie. And so there is a commandment in Leviticus that seems to more explicitly say what is most likely being said in Exodus 20, verse 7. So the idea there is to not lift up the name of the Lord your God in the swearing of an oath if it's a lie, you do not intend to keep it, or it is in some way, shape, or form meaningless or deceitful. So most scholars would say originally this commandment was about not swearing oaths that invoked the name of God if those were deceitful, if the person was lying, if the person had no intention of following through. Now, once the name of God became inappropriate to pronounce at all, obviously this had to change. And one way to do this is to take a step back and understand it to just be saying, don't use the name of the Lord your God at all. Or today, a lot of people understand it to mean, don't use the name of the Lord your God in any kind of profanity or any kind of profane speaking. And the word profane in Latin means outside the temple. So non-religious, non-ritual use or something like that. So a lot of people understand it today to mean not to use the name of God or the word God in profane speaking or something like that. There is another way it has been renegotiated, however, and that is to understand the lifting, bearing, or carrying of the name as a reference to acting as a representative of God. In other words, don't identify as a follower of Adonai or perhaps as a follower of Jesus in a way that is not a worthy representation of that deity. The commandment would thus be prohibiting acting in ways that are incommensurate or that conflict with your identification as a follower of Adonai or of Jesus. So the original sense probably had to do with swearing an oath that you didn't intend to keep, but it was later renegotiated to have reference to any kind of profane use of the divine name or later any kind of profanity, and it was also renegotiated to have reference to your behavior as a representative of God and as a bearer of divine power, divine presence, divine authority. And the fit for this video is the Frank Miller Ben Grimm